CPAC conference. Just 1 week later, Romney threw his support behind then-rival John McCain. Sean sat down with the former Massachusetts governor earlier today at his first televised interview since leaving the campaign trail.
Governor Romney, good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you, Sean.
It's been a while since you've had a couple of interviews.
It has.
All right, bring people into your world in this way. You're heading at this incredible pace. You're giving speeches and interviews and racing from city to city to city, and then all of a sudden, it stops. What's that like?
I go back to seeing the grandkids.
So in that sense, it's refreshing. Rejuvenating.
It is rejuvenating and refreshing, although the campaign was an experience of a lifetime. Well, to go across the country and to meet so many people who became such close friends is something that obviously will be an enormous source of fulfillment and happiness for us throughout our life.
Do you think, is there anything you do differently at this point?
Oh, there's no question that there are lots of things you think about that you do differently. There are lots of mistakes that you say, I wish I wouldn't have made that mistake. Of course, it's the benefit of hindsight. You could run a perfect campaign if you knew all the outcomes before you went into it. Mm-hmm. But the real story in this campaign was not the mistakes that all the rest of us made, but rather the fact that Senator McCain focused his message on a completely new course for what was happening in Iraq, saying that Secretary Rumsfeld's course was wrong, that we needed a new strategy there, which included a surge of troops. He staked his campaign on that, his reputation on that, and the surge has been successful.
You said, and a lot of people confirmed my belief. I watched you give your speech before CPAC when you surprised a lot of people, and you said you were getting out of the race. One of the things you said there, you said, unless America changes course, we'll become the France of the 21st century, no longer the leader of the world, no longer the world's superpower.
Yeah.
That's a pretty powerful statement. Do you feel confident that we're going to change course?
I think we will if President McCain is the next president. I think it's important for him to be the president because I think he will do the critical things that have to be done. And they are reform our entitlement system, rein in government spending, rid our dependence on foreign oil, improve our education system so that our kids really can compete globally. We're going to have to make some dramatic changes in those domestic areas, and then on an international basis, rebuild relationships with nations around the world so that we can confront together the threats that exist, such as radical jihad.
Well, let's talk a little bit about this, because it was a tough race. It was a tough battle. And when Super Tuesday came along in that early morning primary caucus in West Virginia, and then when Senator McCain's campaign released their delegates to Mike Huckabee, did you get the sense then that they were teaming up against you for that moment?
You know, politics is a rough and tumble sport, and you do what you need to do to win. And sure, in a setting like that, I think the McCain campaign said, hey, this is the best way for the McCain campaign to be successful. There were really no hard feelings. I don't think on either side of this there were no attacks and so forth that make people feel like that we'll never come together. Instead, these campaigns are all coming together. We're supporting our nominee enthusiastically, aggressively. I intend to campaign for Senator McCain. I've already asked my fundraising team to meet with his team. They've done so. Mm-hmm. We're laying out ways we can support his campaign. Sure, there are things I wish he wouldn't have said, but he was successful. And I have to recognize that now is the time for us to come together and support his candidacy.
All right. In the course of a campaign, a lot of things are said. You both accused each other at one point, I think, of being liberal. You said now you're supporting him. At one point, you said he was indistinguishable, a lot of his positions, from Hillary and Barack Obama. Do you worry that when you go out and campaign for him that people might bring those things up?
Well, I think people recognize that each of us who was running in the Republican primary contest, we were different. We had different views on different issues. Senator McCain and I are not identical on all the issues. I made that clear in my speech where I withdrew from the race. There are a number of places where I like my position better than I like his position.
Right.
But when I compare Senator McCain with the Democratic contenders, there's no question who I think ought to be the next president of the United States.
What advice would you give those conservatives that are still struggling in finding their support and their voice for Senator McCain?
Well, I'd tell them to do exactly what you did as you introduced the question, which is to focus on the places where there's common ground. And as you think of some of the most defining issues of our time, it is how we're going to confront radical, violent jihad in the world. It is how we're going to rein in the excessive growth of the federal government. And Senator McCain has been, as you point out, a tireless crusader for cutting back on the scale of government, cutting back on spending, getting rid of earmarks, trying to reform entitlements. These have been hallmarks of his effort in Washington for a long, long time. So while there'll be people who say, look, I don't line up 100% with Senator McCain, overall, the posture he's taken on the issues of our time, which is our great economy and how to strengthen it, which is by shrinking our government and reducing the burden on the American people in taxes and regulation, and the threat of radical jihad, Senator McCain is right on those issues. And sure, there are differences among all of us, but on those fundamental issues that we face, we're very much on the same page, and that's why I think you'll see Republicans strongly getting behind Senator McCain and pursuing a campaign with vigor. And I think it's very encouraging that at least the polls today say he's tied with either one of the potential Democratic contenders, and I think that's helped by the fact that the Democrats have made the issue experience,
right,
and ability to deal with national security issues. And when I mean, you listen to,
I want to hear that 3 a.m. phone call from Senator McCain.
Yeah, I mean, you look at that ad, the red phone ad. That was the best ad that the McCain campaign could have ever hoped for, because I mean, listening to Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama talk about experience in a national security crisis is like listening to two chihuahuas argue about which is the biggest dog. All right. When it comes to national security,
right,
John McCain is the big dog, and they're the chihuahuas. And I think as we talk more and more about their battle with one another, focused on the fact that neither one has real experience in dealing with the issues of our time, that will only augur for his benefit.
And coming up, will Senator John McCain tap Mitt Romney to